live from Le Gray Hotel, Beirut, Lebanon. Finally, he's here. Finally, he's in the building. He's a different caliber. He's a different story. Today, we're here to talk about his life, his passion. We talk about his skill, his taste in music and movies. We talk about his taste in cigars and single malt whiskey. We're here to talk about his outstanding accomplishments and what makes him one of the best in the world today. If you mix James Bond and Tony Stark and just sprinkle a little bit of Bruce Wayne right there somewhere, you get him. Let's have an authentic conversation and a kind and loving conversation with the one and only Jason Ladanye.
Thanks for having me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
It's going great.
Enjoying Beirut so far?
It's stunning. I've never been to any place like this. There's nothing like it. So thank you for having me.
Well, what about the food?
That's the best part. I'm not even joking. That's
Such a pleasure to have you here. Jason, we always begin with, where were you born?
I was born in upstate New York, in Albany, the capital.
How was it like growing up?
Growing up in Albany, it's a capital of New York, but it's very small, and I moved around quite a bit, but generally stayed in that neck of the woods.
Did you enjoy growing up in that area?
Like I said, it's a small town, so I had nothing to compare it to.
Okay.
It wasn't so much later in life that, I was probably 16, 17 years old by the time I made it to New York City, and then I saw what a real city was like. So at that age, growing up, I just figured, this is what life's like. And then I saw the city and said, nah, this is what the life's like.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
How was your family like? Do you have any siblings?
I have an older brother. He's 11 years older than me, so you can only imagine being 7, 8 years old and having this awesome adult brother that was doing cool things like driving and
taking care of you.
Yeah, playing pool and he was the first one to show me a card trick, so that's a different story. But he was this ultimate cool person that I looked up to. We never got into a fight because he was so much older. He would have beat the crap out of me anyway. But I didn't have that sibling problem where you've got a brother that's a year older that's always giving you issues. So we had a real good relationship. I have a beautiful relationship with my mom. She's another person that got me into all of music and magic. And my father, he passed away early in life, so I didn't have an issue getting along with him. He wasn't there.
Tell me about your father a little bit. How was your relationship with him?
I didn't have very much of a relationship at all. By the time I was growing up, he had already kind of left the picture, so I didn't really have much of a father figure in life.
How old were you at the time?
I was about 7 when he left the family, and then I was 14 when he passed away.
What about your mother?
My mother's a beautiful person, young at heart. People talk about that particular expression, and that woman is that she's 71 years old or something like that, still acts like she's 18 years old. So
God bless her.
Yeah, it hasn't changed a bit.
She's your hero?
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
She's amazing.
She's your hero. What's your earliest memory of growing up in this area?
Earliest memory of growing up in Albany would probably be living at, we lived at a library, believe it or not. All the world of knowledge at downstairs in what we call the stacks, the halls and halls of books. And if you lived above the library and took care of it, you got to live there for free. And this was all, like I said, in upstate New York. So some of my earliest memories are living at that library and being able to go downstairs, and I found the magic book section, of course.
Oh yeah.
And I would read the books, and they had a big 8mm projection.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a TV. I didn't have a TV in my life until I was about 19 years old, no television. And so when I was 7 or 8 years old living at this library, they had a 8mm, so I could watch Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Gone with the Wind. That was kind of my first introduction to film. And we pulled this big projection screen down, and I had my own movie theater, So that was those are some of my earliest memories.
So now we know we need to thank your brother and those magic books in that library.
That's true, yeah.
So speaking of books, how was school like for you?
School?
Yeah.
Well, I changed schools a lot, so I never really was able to kind of build that group of friends that you have if you stay in the same school. A lot of moving around.
Yeah.
But eventually, I settled down in one school, and the teachers would always get on me for playing too much piano, showing off, and go into the music room and play the piano, and they'd be like, "You can't do that, don't touch the piano. What's a piano for? All right, and then also showing other kids tricks, and it was always fun to fool the kids in school. But the funny thing is almost all, I still have the report cards that say this. They'd say Jason needs to focus more on the important things in life, and not waste his time with showing off by playing piano or showing off doing card tricks. And you know,
now they're wrong.
Now, yeah, in a future book somewhere, I have those report cards that say exactly that from each teacher. Showing off too much, doing magic tricks, that's not what's important in life. He needs to focus on math and science. And it's just like, that's our education system. You know?
Yeah, I wonder how a quadratic equation actually helps me in my life right now. Exactly.
Exactly, or how many protons and neutrons are. You know, if you're going to be a chemistry teacher, yes, you need to know that stuff. But I think in the States anyway, the schools really just follow a curriculum and don't care if you're passionate about art or passionate about whatever you're passionate. They don't care. Learn this stuff.
I guess it's just because they want you to be in the system. You know,
yeah,
they want you to be an employee and take orders.
Early I knew. Well, yeah, you work with other people and things like that. But early I knew that I don't care about any of this. I want to perform.
Exactly. So the only reason why you changed a lot of schools is because you used to get into fights, or were you?
No. My father was changing jobs constantly, and my parents were in a bit of a rocky relationship because he was leaving. So my mom was kind of moving around quite a bit, and we had to move a lot because of that. I didn't know that at the time, though. I just figured, oh, cool, another 6 months have gone by, and we have to move again.
Were you ever bullied at school?
I wouldn't say that I grew up and had an issue with bullies, per se. Every school has an asshole in it, so we knew who he was, but I wouldn't say that I had an issue with being bullied.
What about the ladies? I mean, the girls at the time. Did they like you?
I liked the girls. I'm not sure if they liked me, but I was early in life to appreciate a beautiful girl.
Were you as handsome as?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was devastating all my life, yeah.
You were always devastating all your life? Now, when you graduated, I assume you started working. So what was your first real job?
Well, we're talking magic here or music? Or
no, just real job.
All right, so my first real paycheck came from a golf course, actually, believe it or not. So my brother he played golf, and he worked at a golf course, right? So when I was about 14 or 15, which is below the legal age to work in New York, I approached a golf course because I wanted some cash, you know. And they gave me the job. It was all under the table. And I enjoyed playing golf, right? So if you worked there, you not only got a paycheck, but you got to play as much golf as you wanted to play. So I get up around 4:30 in the morning or so and ride my bike to the golf course. And it was my job to do everything there, to mow, to take care of the sand traps, to helping fix the sprinkler systems and stuff, manual labor for all the way until from 4 to 2, 3 in the afternoon or something like that. So exhausting work, but I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Yeah,
and then,
it's like you enjoyed it.
Since you get free golf afterwards, after a long day of work, I'd play a couple rounds of free golf.
Is there something specific you learned from golf that you have adapted in your life?
Golf is, it's not you against another opponent like other sports, right? It's you against yourself.
How's that?
Well, you have to beat the course. Okay. And what happens in golf is that there's pressure. There's an insane amount of pressure because you start to build something, a good game, but the pressure builds as you get to the end of the course, and you have to beat your own demons. You know, something creeps into your head and says, "Oh, don't make that mistake," you know, and you have to kind of suppress all that and come through when it matters. Yeah, you'll feel a lot of pressure in that game. And
it teaches us a lot of things, you know, to behave under pressure. How do we?
Yeah, exactly.
How do we react?
Can you come through when it matters? That's what golf teaches.
When it matters, exactly. Did you pick up any other hobbies? I mean,
magic and music they started young. So I was already playing in bands at this time when I was working at the golf course, and I was already obviously into golf, taking golf lessons from my brother and things like that. And magic, I was into all three of those at the time.
At the time, nice. When you were touring, did you also practice magic at the same time, or?
Yes, of course. I never stopped. When I was 7 or 8, my brother showed me those card tricks, and that started that magic. It never stopped. So yes, when I was touring on the road as a musician, I was constantly to help mitigate the damage of a 8-hour drive or a 16-hour flight or something like that. You don't want to sit there and just do nothing, so I would pull out a deck of cards and work on my chops.
I know exactly what you're talking about. When we woke up in the morning, you put your mat, your deck of cards, and I was like, when's he going to finish so we can have breakfast?
Yeah,
then I forced you, I was like, let's have breakfast. You had breakfast, and you pulled out that mat again. And you literally practiced 11 hours that day, even though you're in Beirut for a vacation. 11 hours isn't a joke.
Oh yeah, it's just it keeps my hands busy, and you're always creating and always growing and always thinking, and that's part of that drive. It's not something I force myself to do. My girlfriend has to force me not to when we go out on vacations and such. She's like, please leave the cards in, you know. Now, I'm not ignoring the culture around me. It's just something that's in my hands that keeps me busy. And
But how did you fall in love with magic? Like, just love it. I'm pretty sure it wasn't that moment your brother showed you that trick. There was a turning point.
Yeah. My brother got me interested in something cool, right? And the hobby and tinkering with it, but I didn't certainly see a career at that age. But it was going to see David Copperfield in a big, beautiful theater. So it's probably my first time in one of those. I don't know what if you guys. I'm sure you have something like this here, but it seats about 2,000.
We have more.
And it's got those giant ceilings with the gold everywhere, and the seats built into the side, and the red velvet seats, and you know that the venue alone is like, you know, this is amazing. And then David Copperfield comes out, and next thing you know, he disappears on stage. Like he's there. He puts his head down into a box, and the box falls apart, and he's gone. And I'm like, how's that possible? And I turn my head, and he's there. He's on top of a motorcycle, like 2 seats down from me. And I'm like, you know, how is this even possible? This is not possible. I mean, this isn't a little trick you put in a card.
How'd that make you feel?
And I was mystified. I just couldn't believe how this stuff was possible. And he did this for the full show. Everything he does is a complete mystery. But at that scale, it was very, very grandiose, right? So at the end of the evening, we're leaving the theater, and there's David Copperfield shaking people's hands on the way out, So I shook his hand and said, "I'm never going to wash my hand again." And, I did, but that was a turning point for me. That and the special, the TV special, when he walked through the wall of China. So
the Great Wall of China.
Yeah, exactly. So I had the experience meeting him and seeing his show live, and that drove me to see the TV show.
Why a deck of cards, though? I mean, motorcycle, Great Wall of China. What's so intriguing about a deck of cards?
Well, I didn't know it at the time. All these terms and all of this thinking now wasn't available to me back then. Back then, I just had to go on feelings and such, right? But I determined later in life why cards meant something to me, because of the practicality of a deck of cards. So when I started buying magic props, I had 5, 6, 7 things. I'd save up money, go to the magic store, buy a few linking rings, and buy a few more things. But then, when I was out somewhere at a family gathering or school, somebody would say, "Oh, show me a card, show me a magic trick," and I'd be like, "Oh, well, I don't have any of my stuff with me."
Exactly.
So, what kind of sorcerer are you if you don't have your things with you? But I did have a deck of cards, so I found that I could do 3 or 4 tricks and entertain people.
It's something familiar at the end of the day.
Well, not only that, but it's just that I could do something. If I didn't have that box of stuff, I couldn't do anything. So, cards was more of a necessity to be able to show people things. Not that it was my one passion. It was just, if I have this with me, I can do 30 minutes of material.
Yeah. When was the turning point in your life where you said, all I want to do as a career is a card magician on a different caliber, and that's all I want?
Excellent. All right, so cards was one of my things that I could do among all these other things, right? But I started getting into, I wanted more. I got hungry, right? So I read Expert at the Card Table, and I read Expert Card Technique and Royal Road and all that, and there's a lot of material in there, right? And I liked those books because there was so much material, right? But eventually, that started to get stale. I learned my tricks from those books and then wanted more. I want more. And so I found, just by coincidence, Martin Nash. And I was reading through a catalog that sells magic, and it said, 3 volumes of all card magic. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of stuff there, just card magic. Because the other books in DVD or VHS at that time that I got, and maybe there's only 1 or 2 card tricks on there and some other things. So when I found this Martin Nash guy and I watched him, and I'm like, this guy's way different than all of the other stuff that I've seen before. Because it's not just a card trick that fools you. You watch a Marlowe card trick. There's not much presentation. It's just, here, pick a card, and I'll deal 2 piles, and
now your card's here.
You just get fooled.
Yeah, it's a puzzle, and you right. So, and that would fool you, and it would interest you. But when I saw Martin Nash, there was this each effect had a story, and he was an interesting person.
Charming cheat.
Yeah, exactly. He was very interesting, and he was different than all of the people that came before him. And the material was great as well. So not only did I get fooled, but I got pulled into this story. And again, at that age, so I'm 15, 16 years old now, I didn't know that I was attracted to the character and the persona. I didn't know those terms yet. I just said, I really like this person. I didn't know about premise yet. I just said, this person's great.
How does it make you feel when you do a card trick for someone? I mean, how does it make you feel today?
It's sharing what I've devoted my life to with them. And I'm excited to bring somebody new into that, expose them to things that they've never imagined.
Does it make you happy when you send them home happy?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know about happy. The material that I perform, I like to. Happiness is in there, but I also like to. Frustrate's a strong word, but I like them to send them home with a mystery that they're never going to solve. That's gratifying for me.
Exactly. Now, all of us have a story that we performed magic in a situation where we got out of trouble, or we got out of a situation, or I'm pretty sure you have one somewhere.
Oh, I do them all the time. Yeah, the magician in trouble ploy is very, very, very strong because it establishes your character up front. I never get in trouble, and you establish that you can get out of every situation. That's a very fascinating thing. I mean, think about life. We, as humans, we avoid danger, right? So you get up on stage and you're putting yourself in these dangerous situations, and sure enough, they go wrong sometimes, on purpose, of course. For us.
But in real life, I mean, like, let's say you're in trouble in real life, and then you use the magic trick to get out of that trouble.
Exactly. It's a very strong ploy, and I use it often.
Who was your hero at first in card magic?
Martin Nash, before I found Ortiz.
I mean, Darwin Ortiz is my hero.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he's yours too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Why is he one of the greatest of all time?
Well, because, like I said, when I watched Nash, that's the point that I said, I can focus on being a card magician. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought you had to do a variety of things, and here's this guy that did exclusively cards. So I was kind of said, wow, it's possible to do this. Maybe I'll try this. And that led me to finding Darwin Ortiz, because back to the catalog and finding more, looking for more education, I found Darwin's material. And again, it said all card routines. I'm like, I'll try this guy out just by reading the description of what the series had offered. So I ordered that, and that was a game changer for me, because the technical chops were stronger.
Yeah.
The premises were stronger. The material was stronger. Everything was just better. And he completely blew my mind. Not only with technique, because I would see the shuffles and I'd go, but those are real shuffles. I mean, I can see the cards changing. I can see the cards getting cut, and yet things were happening. He was fooling me with technique alone.
It was so elegant.
Yeah. That
beautiful.
Plus the presentation was stronger. The reactions from the audience was stronger. It was just, I thought that I had found the best, and then I saw something I was just blown.
How did you find him, by the way?
I found him because I had been getting blown away so many times that I wanted to reach out to whoever made this DVD to thank them and say, listen, keep making material like this, because this is better than some of the other stuff that I have found. So when I turned the DVD over, there was a phone number in the back. I figured that was the A1 multimedia number, and I thought I was going to get a receptionist, and I wanted to leave a message for the company to say, feedback. I like this stuff.
You want to compliment them.
Yeah. And Darwin answers the phone, and I'm like, you're Darwin? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, I was totally unprepared, So I must have, praised the guy for 20 minutes straight until he asked me why I was calling, very, very Darwin Ortiz. Why are you calling me? So anyway, I told him I was amazed by the material, and I don't know if you do private lessons, or I'd love, because I had been taking piano lessons my whole life, so I figured maybe he teaches. And he said, I'll give you one lesson, and if you or show some improvement and show that you're willing to learn, then perhaps
we'll carry on.
Perhaps we could continue. There was a a sense of this may not continue. So
He's not joking. He's serious.
yeah, but that also made me want to make sure that I work hard enough to get more lessons. It was very, very clever.
How many decks of cards does he go through per year?
He goes through 2, 3, 4, 500 decks a year probably.
How many do you go through per year?
Probably 3 times that.
3 times that. Why?
A lot of the material that I do ruins the cards. I do a lot of walk-around events, and I'm constantly giving the cards away as souvenirs.
Yeah.
And I practice religiously. I want to practice with the decks in the same condition that I perform on. So why take an old, beat-up deck and try to perform with it if you perform with new decks?
Yeah.
So I don't care. I open up brand new deck, and I use a little bit more of an expensive deck. I don't care. I use that deck. I practice with it, and like I said, between folding, signing, tearing, all sorts of things, the decks just get damaged. And probably the number one reason is whenever I perform at a formal show, I always prefer to give the deck away at the end. I don't care if it's brand new. I give it away. So the audience knows that that's a
It conveys a lot of things.
a regular deck of cards, first of all, because that's what people may think. I don't want one guy out in the audience going, he was great, but it had to have been a trick deck of cards. And his friends go, yeah, you're right, it was a trick deck. But if I'm giving it away, that can't be the case, right? And also, it conveys a sense of I'm being generous. Here, this is for you, a souvenir. Now, that person is happy about that souvenir, but the audience sees that I'm willing to just, this is for you. Thank you for coming on. I want you to have this.
I'm pretty sure they'll keep it forever.
Yeah, it's a nice gesture, that's all.
How many years have you been under Darwin's wings?
I think I still am, because
Whoa.
there's still knowledge, there's still learning. You're never done learning, period. You're never done. There's always something else to learn. So I can create something new, and I'm very proud of it, and I'll show it to him, and he'll give me an insight that I just didn't think or realize. So you're never done, ever.
You're never done. Does he still practice?
Do I still?
Darwin Ortiz.
Yes, of course, absolutely. Absolutely.
Religiously?
Yeah.
At 71?
Yeah, and when I visit, he'll tell me, we'll get to your stuff later today. I've got to work out and I've got to go practice for a couple hours, so we'll start at 5 today. So
Wow.
find something to do for a couple hours.
That's
So what do? I go to a coffee house and I practice for a couple hours. Yeah.
That's a great example for us to carry on.
It's inspiring to think that at that age, you don't let yourself go and gain weight and just watch TV all day. I mean, he really does.
I mean, at 71,
Yeah.
I mean, usually normal people retire and just get fat and do nothing.
No, that's not him. And I know it because I feel that same desire to continue to practice, keep your chops up to par. How hard? I never want to be the guy that people sit down and go, "Well, he used to have great chops back in the day," but I don't want to be that.
I'm pretty sure you can still deal with those centers, face-up centers.
Absolutely, I've seen it.
What an inspiration. It's great. Tell me a funny story about Darwin, or like something that nobody knows. I mean, something that Darwin probably wouldn't want anyone to know.
Oh, I don't know. He's a very private person. Something funny about Darwin. I will tell you this. He made me wait for something for about 2 years. I'm not going to get into the effects at all, but he did something that fooled me a long time ago. He was showing Tony Cabral and Andrew Wimhurst and myself a routine, and all three of us were fooled.
Obviously.
Yeah, right? And after that, a couple months later, I asked him if he could give me some tips on that, and he said, oh, absolutely, just ask me next time, And so 4 or 5 months went by. I used to go down 3-4 times a year. So I had to wait 4 months for this. So I went down again, and I asked him again at the end of the session. I said, oh, by the way, can you share that thing that you fooled everybody with? And he said, oh, I'm just kind of tired from the session today, so let's talk about it next time you're down. So I had to wait another 4 or 5 months, and I came with a strategy this time. I said, you know what? This time I'm going to ask him
First.
right in the So we'll sit down. So we sit down, and I say, hey, before we get started, can you show me that thing that that you fooled everybody with? And he goes, oh, absolutely. Just remind me at the end of the session. So we did all of our stuff, and at the end of the session, I said, oh, that thing, by the way, we never talked about that. And he goes, oh, it's just so late. Let's just talk about it next time you're down. Now, this has been 1.5 years at this point, So sure enough, another couple months goes by, and I come down, and I say, listen, can we learn that thing that you fooled me with? And I really believed that he was tired at the end of the session and he just forgot and things like that. And he goes, all right, I think you've suffered long enough. He did it on purpose. The guy did it on purpose. Now, there's a reason for that. Do you know how many versions and methods and things I had thought about for 2 years? I had thought of, maybe it was this, maybe it was this, I tried this, I invented this. I probably invented 5 card tricks just thinking about how the hell he could have done that. So this man is a genius, because if he had just said, after that first time and said, oh, it was this.
He doesn't want to spoil you, I mean.
Well, but yes, he made me work. But if he just said, oh, I just did this, I never would have thought of how that's possible for that long and been that creative. It's about creativity. I was very creative and very inventive and said, maybe it was this and maybe it was this, and playing with all of these ideas. And if he had just told me, I never would have. I just would have accepted what it was and never thought about it again. So it was very, very smart.
Thanks to him.
Yeah.
Do you have another funny story somewhere?
Oh, well, the Tony Giorgio thing is always a treat. So they were at the Magic, him and Tony Giorgio were very good friends, and they'd hang out at the Magic Castle together. It was a very popular hang. And Tony Giorgio wanted to show Darwin, or excuse me, wanted to show the waitress. Of course, a cute waitress comes up to the table and
You want to speak her up?
I don't know about that, but just wanted to show off. Just be like, I'm the big player at this table, and I want to show you something. It's very Tony Giorgio, you know. And he has a deck of cards, and he says to the waitress, "Name any card you want on the deck." And the waitress says 4 of diamonds or something, and Darwin just happens to look down at the deck he's holding, and there's a 4 of diamonds at the face, just pure luck.
Waiting for him.
Yeah, just by pure luck. And Tony Giorgio starts talking or something, and Darwin palms the 4 of diamonds off and reaches into his wallet and interrupts just for a second, says, "Excuse me just 1 second, that's interesting, because in my wallet, you know, I happen to have the 4 of diamonds." It like stole all of the thunder at that moment. The woman turned to Darwin and was like, "That's amazing, that's truly amazing." And I think Tony got a little...
That was the first round knockout.
Yeah, but those two, but just to be clear, those two were excellent friends. And this story, Darwin told me this years ago, so hopefully I got the details right, but I do remember there was something very similar to that.
What has magic given you, by the way?
Career, and a good one. I don't feel... I never wanted to be part of the rat race. I knew at such an early age that I don't want to get up and go to work every day and be part of that thing, putting things on shelves or in the kitchen chopping things. I don't want to have to do something I don't like to make money, right? So that I can spend it on the things I want to like. So I could just sense that. I could sense people were doing jobs they didn't want to do just for money. And magic has allowed me to, well, music did the same thing. I was allowed to travel the whole world, see everything, and it pays my bills. And when I get up and practice like those 11 hours, that doesn't feel like work. That's just me having fun.
Actually, I don't want to say you were practicing. You were meditating on that.
Well, I forget the term exactly. I think it's called maybe therapy practice or therapy play. It's true for music too. You're not sitting down and practicing scales. You're not playing songs. You're not doing rudiments. You're just kind of, you got your hands on the piano, and it's therapy.
You're there, yeah.
So it's a version of meditation. But when I handle a deck of cards all day, it's kind of in and out of practice, rehearsal. Maybe I'm learning something new or tinkering around with something. But yeah, it doesn't feel like work at all.
At all?
No.
How's your relationship with Sir Michael Vinson?
Mike has been a huge, huge inspiration and teacher in my life. I remember when I first started seeing him, the internet was coming around, and this is 2004, 2005, something like that. I would find clips of him online or stories about him, and I just said, look at this cool motherfucker here. You know, he's got a suit on. He's dapper. Like he just looks like $1 million.
He wears a suit perfectly.
But yeah, he knows how to wear a suit. And again, I didn't know this at the time, but his posture, the way he stands and commands the room, and I just could sense in these photos of him that this guy's amazing. He's like James Bond's, but Darwin as well. But he's his own thing and very strong performer. And when I met Mike for the first time, we really connected and we talked about a lot of things. But he gave me some really powerful advice that is still true today.
What is it?
all sorts of stuff, relation stuff. Just anytime the guy speaks, it's genuine.
It's like a big brother also.
Yes. One of the biggest things is to incorporate your own stories and your own life into your presentations and such. That way, they're much more genuine. So when I was 12 years old doing card tricks and saying, when I was on the Mississippi riverboats back in the day, I mean you're a 12-year-old kid. Nobody.
You can't say that,
yeah, and people can believe that, or people are going to see through your story. So when you present, you're taking some true moment from your life and building some presentation upon that. Now it's genuine, and the audience can sense that it's genuine. So my triumph, it's about my brother and his friends giving me a tough time. That happened. Now that trick, what I talk about in the effect didn't really happen, obviously, but that did happen where I performed.
There's always conflict maybe between you, and so that was inspired by that conflict.
And not necessarily from my brother. I love my brother. So what I would do is take those school performances where I'd be performing and somebody be trying to pull the deck out of my hands. So everybody has an older brother or sibling rivalry or things like that that they can identify with, and everybody has the bully thing. So I was able to perform that routine and pull from real life experiences, and that's why it's so easy to present. If you're trying to present something that's totally fabricated, it can be done, but it's very difficult because you yourself never experienced it. So how can you present it? So actors, method acting, if I'm going to play the part of an actor that was, the story involves a guy that was locked in prison for all his life, a method actor will go sit in jail for 2 months to figure out what does this feel like so he can present more authentically, So I'm not saying go sit in jail, but what I'm saying is each presentation, if you're going to tell a story, should have a grain of truth in there. Mike taught me that, and it's changed everything.
Speaking of which, how do you express yourself?
With a deck of cards?
Yeah.
I think about what do I want these people to walk away from, right? What am I? I've worked hard in my life to develop the skill set, and I want them to see that skill set and be in awe of it. That confidence that I have from it, I want them to feel that. I want to express that.
And you communicate it through this medium.
But not just, see, there's a big difference in the type of material that people perform. I'm not there to show them a quick trick. They go, oh, wow, how'd you do that? I want their minds blown every time.
Yeah.
So you have to maintain that upper level.
Who is Jason Ladanye in 10 years?
We'll find out, won't we?
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I don't know. I just keep trying to improve, and I'm never going to sit back and go, there, I finished card magic. Now let's take up chess. Yeah, I don't. That's not me.
What's your favorite movie?
That's a very difficult question because it changes. So people often, another similar question I get within music is, what's your favorite guitar? Each has its own thing to offer. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? One day it might be this, but if you have it too much, the other flavor becomes something you want more. So the same thing with guitar. Strats do something, Gibsons do something. So with movies, I can name a few, but they change. They change. Heat, Casino, the second Batman. Actually, the whole Batman trilogy is great, but especially the second one.
Robert De Niro in both of them.
Yeah, of course. Casino Royale, Skyfall. We could sit here all day, but basically, it has to pull you in, and you have to be able to watch it over and over and over and over, and it never gets old.
How does it make you feel to be the author of 2 outstanding books that will just live forever? I mean, this isn't my opinion, that's the truth.
Well, thank you for saying that, and that was my goal, to be honest, to let the world know how big my dick was. No, that was my goal, to write books that have no filler. I mean that. When I was a kid and bought magic books, I felt like I'd read all of it, and 10% of it was good, and the other 90% was stuff that you could never do. It felt so like, am I going to have 8 decks of cards in each pocket for, who's going to do that? Or who's going to do that much work for such a little result? Yeah. Like, so what? So I wanted to put the best of the best in those books, and I think maybe Bob Marley said it, or Jimi Hendrix. I forgive me for not remembering the quote, but it's not what you do now, it's when you're dead and gone, what people are going to remember. What would you leave behind?
Speaking of quotes, in every effect in your book, the both of them, you have a quote there.
A what?
In every effect in your book.
Oh, yes,
There's a quote at the top.
absolutely, yes. And the quote,
Which one's your favorite?
embraces the effect. It's not just a quote for the sake of, oh, I'll put a quote at the top. If you read those quotes, they're very, very linked to the effect, to the what's going to happen. My favorite, there's a handful of them. There's two of them that come to mind right now. Victory loves preparation. Yeah. So if you're constantly practicing and honing in on your skill and all that, you will succeed, right? If you're caught off guard, it's because you're not rehearsing. And also, without obsession, there is no mastery. It's an unknown quote. People don't know who said it, but
I love it.
That's it.
Without obsession, there is no mastery. Nice.
It's true.
And well, speaking about obsession, how does it make you feel to be one of the very few on this planet who can execute all the false deals flawlessly?
I don't care about the rankings. I care about my technical ability with it to stay sharp, and it's related to what we were talking about earlier. I don't want to be known as someone that used to have false deals. That stuff needs to be up to par. And also, when it comes time to execute this stuff in front of people, there's no worry. There's no worry whatsoever because my skill set's sharpened.
My heroes are Larry King and James Lipton. You find them here in this interview. There's a segment Larry King does. It's called If You Only Knew. So I ask a question and you answer it, right? And then we just keep them going, all right? You ready?
Go.
What keeps you up at night?
The first thing that popped into my mind, creativity. I can't sleep if I'm trying to create something.
Guilty pleasure.
Video games.
Mine's porn.
Yeah,
No,
hardcore
I'm joking,
Turkish
I'm joking,
porn.
I'm
I love
joking.
Turkish porn.
I'm joking. It's not guilty at all. If you could be an animal, which animal would it be?
Wolf.
Wolf. If you could be a person for a day, who would it be?
A president, but not our current president. to like a Barack or somebody like that.
Nice. Who's your hero today?
Hero today. I honestly think it's still Darwin. I really do.
Yeah. Best advice you've ever gotten?
From my friend Tony Cabral.
Worst advice?
No. I'll give you the advice. From Tony Cabral, he said, trust your material.
Trust your material. Worst advice you've ever gotten?
Worst advice. I don't know if I can't hear worst advice. It wouldn't stick to me.
Do you have a secret talent?
You know, a lot of people don't know I play harmonica too.
Yeah, I just found that
just
out.
as good as piano and guitar. It's another instrument that I play, yeah. But I don't ever really share it. Yeah.
What's your proudest accomplishment?
2 books.
Nice.
And many more to come.
What annoys you?
When something gets in the way of creativity or productivity. If I'm set to do something and that gets in the way, get it the fuck away from me.
What's your biggest compliment you've ever gotten?
Biggest compliment I've ever... the biggest compliment was calling Darwin and finding out that he had performed like 3 or 4 of my routines, and he was like, he's now doing my material.
What a compliment, right?
And Mike Vinson, doing Lucky Charms and my material.
Tell me something people don't know about you.
Late one night, I was driving home, and I swerved and hit a person, and I never told anybody.
You make a lot of people happy. Who makes you happy?
Yeah.
Who makes you happy?
My girlfriend, Lauren. She is as zany as I am and makes me laugh, and I need that in my life. So yeah. And my dog.
She's a sweetheart, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, she's a princess in every way, and my lovely dog makes me laugh. Zadok.
How would you like to be remembered?
As one of the best card handlers in the world. But I do more things than that. So it's not only did he do cards, but he did this and that. You know, somebody that achieved a lot.
Finally, we come to the 10-question questionnaire by Bernard Pivot, inspired by James Lipton. Jason, what's your favorite word?
My favorite word is fuck because of the versatility of it.
What's your least favorite word?
It's not a word, but can you do it cheaper? I hate that word. Those words.
What sound or noise do you love?
The sound of a perfectly executed shuffle.
Oh yeah.
Or the finishing cut.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when those two packets slap, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What sound or noise do you hate?
People that annoy kids, sound of children. Oh God, I'll throw a table across the room.
What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
What turns you on?
Beauty.
What turns you off?
Laziness.
What profession would you like to attempt other than yours?
I think that something to do with law enforcement, something of that nature. So it's FBI, CIA, so that kind of thing is intriguing to me. That they keep us safe. I shuffle cards, but these people have one hell of a job, you know.
What profession would you not like to attempt under any circumstance?
Something along the lines of a janitor or something like that.
Finally, and if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You did a hell of a job. Good on you.
I'm pretty sure you will. Thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you so much for coming to Beirut, Lebanon. Thank you so much for pulling off one of the biggest lectures in the Middle East. And your first foot that stepped in the Middle East is right here in Lebanon.
Right on,
Thank you so much for being my big brother and mentor, Mr. Jason Ladanye.
Thanks for having me. I
Such
appreciate
a pleasure.
it. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. What are you looking at?
Not much.
What never fails to make you laugh?
The word poopies.
The word what, sorry?
Poopies.
Poopies?
Yeah. Ask me that question. I can't say that. It's fucking terrible.
Let's just move on to the next question.
Good. Just edit that shit out. That'll be edited out.
We're not editing anything out.
Because my skill set's sharpened.
Absolutely. This fucking thing flew away.
Absolutely.
And I forgot what you were saying.
Great answer. Absolutely.
I forgot what you were saying. I had to
Did you
say
get
something.
this guy? You said he was a professor.
Oh God.
Damn it.
Oh my God. Absolutely. What were you saying? Literally, bro. But this fucking thing flew off.
I said it was a skill set that when I sit down, I want to make sure that stuff is it's always sharpened, always ready to go. I won't feel any nerves when I shut the fuck up.
Can you hide your cup?
What? Oh, sorry.
Oh, really good. Yeah.
What were you saying?
Absolutely.
No, literally, like that last sentence.
It's about honing in your skills, keeping them sharp, and when it comes time to execute these things, there's no. What the fuck are you doing? I'm not gonna fucking piece of shit.
Is there anything in the coffee?
I hope not. Our Tola, 4 cups.
I would say.
The other we're rolling, yeah.
The outtakes are just going to be you cracking up.
Oh my God.
So you have to hone in on that skill set. All right, now I've got it. Okay. What was the question again? What was your stupid question?
How does it make you? All right. How does it make you feel? To me,
Oh, right.